Two Palestinian terrorist attacks in 24 hours leave a pregnant Israeli woman seriously wounded, while another is killed with a manhunt for the terrorist ongoing. Pakistan's Prime Minister visits Saudi Arabia and Iran to calm tensions in an effort to safeguard economic ties with both countries. And world #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic downplays match fixing in tennis but admits he was offered $200,000 to lose the match. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us at I-24 News. I'm Benjamin Chong-Alfares. Terrorism strikes in Tekoa in the West Bank, south of Jerusalem, where a pregnant Israeli woman in her 30s who was stabbed multiple times in the chest is fighting for her life. The Palestinian terrorist was shot and taken to the hospital with moderate injuries. A short while ago, we spoke with Yoni Yagodovsky, spokesperson from the Israeli Emergency Medical Services, about this morning's attack.
The woman was stabbed in the upper part of her body. She was treated by our paramedics and emergency medical technicians at the scene and was evacuated to the Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. They described her medical condition as moderate to severe after receiving the treatment at the scene.
Daphne Meir, the 38-year-old nurse and mother of 6 who was brutally stabbed to death by suspected Palestinian terrorists in her home in Otniel in the West Bank on Sunday night, was laid to rest today in Jerusalem. The funeral was attended by various politicians, including opposition leader Isaac Herzog, Education Minister Naftali Bennett, and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked. She leaves behind her husband and 6 children aged 4 to 17, including 2 foster children. She worked as a nurse in the neurosurgery department at Beersheba's Soraka Medical Center and as a premarital counselor for new brides. Well, India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on her first visit to West Asia as the External Affairs Minister said in Jerusalem today, India attaches the highest importance to the full development of bilateral ties with Israel. But she began her visit to Israel on Sunday by first stopping in Ramallah in the West Bank, where she told the Palestinian Authority foreign minister that there has been, quote, absolutely no change in India's policy regarding its support for the Palestinian cause. Siraj's visit follows the historic visit to Israel by an Indian president last October when President Pranab Mukherjee stopped by. Here's what Netanyahu and Swaraj said ahead of their meeting.
And the future belongs to those who innovate. Israel and India are at the cutting edge of so many areas of innovation. And by working together, we can do a lot more for our peoples and for the world. So we admire India. We view India as a great friend. And it's in that spirit of friendship that I welcome you here in Jerusalem. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. India attaches the highest importance to the full development of wide-ranging ties with Israel. Our bilateral cooperation has developed well in a number of areas over the past 2 decades, but the potential of our relations is much more. I'm looking forward to my meetings with the Israeli leadership. I hope to discuss the entire spectrum of our bilateral relationship.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif left for a short visit to Saudi Arabia and Iran today to help bridge the growing divide between the two countries after the Sunni kingdom executed a Shiite cleric. Islamabad has sought to avoid taking sides in the escalating dispute between Saudi Arabia and its main regional rival Iran as it wrestles with its own sectarian tensions at home and hopes to bolster economic ties with both countries. Sunni-majority Pakistan maintains deep links with the establishment in the Saudi capital, which provided Sharif with political asylum in the 2000s after he was ousted in a military coup. We were joined on the phone by I-24 News correspondent Mohammed Al-Qasim with more details.
Pakistan is trying to play an honest broker in this dilemma that it's facing, despite the fact that Islamabad is considered one of Saudi Arabia's major allies in the Islamic world. Islamabad does not want to take any sides here because it has a lot riding on its relationship between the two countries. Islamabad, Pakistan, with the visit to Riyadh today, its prime minister is trying to convince the two countries, the two major countries in the region, maybe to reconsider cutting diplomatic ties and use Pakistan's weight in the good relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia, maybe to close the gap between the two countries. And now that Iran is joining the international world after lifting sanctions on it yesterday. Maybe this will be an opportunity maybe to bring these two countries together. He's going to try, among many other leaders that have been trying in the last week or so.
Well, Saudi-led coalition jets hit a public security administration building in the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, late on Sunday, killing at least 20 people, including both security officials and civilians, and injuring 16 others. The airstrike hit the headquarters of a police unit in charge of protecting parks, public spaces, and tourism sites. Yemen descended into a civil war last March when Houthi rebels forced President Abd Rabbu Mansur Hadi to flee to Saudi Arabia after they closed in on Aden, drawing the Saudi-led coalition into the Yemen conflict. Since then, the coalition has launched almost daily airstrikes on the capital, hoping to force the Houthis to retreat. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe congratulated Taiwan President-elect Tsai Ing-wen on Monday for her victory in the election. Tsai and her independence-leaning Democratic Progressive Party won a convincing victory in both presidential and parliamentary elections on Saturday.
With regards to the victory of President-elect Tsai Ing-wen, I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations. I hope our two countries will be able to further enhance bilateral cooperation and human interaction in the future.
Over now to sports, where world number one Novak Djokovic has claimed he was once indirectly offered $200,000 to lose a first-round match in the St. Petersburg Open in Russia, but said he does not believe match fixing is an issue at the top of the sport. The BBC on Monday said it could reveal secret files exposing evidence of widespread suspected match fixing at the top level of world tennis, including at Wimbledon. Over the last decade, 16 players who have ranked in the top 50 have been repeatedly flagged to the Tennis Integrity Unit over suspicions they have thrown matches. And we're now joined by sports anchor Jonathan Regev. Jonathan, first it's soccer, now it's tennis. I mean, is this a similar kind of situation with corruption?
Much more, I would say, because the world of athletics is also dealing with their corruption scandal. Same as cycling, which has been dealing with doping. It's a plague that has been hitting all sports. And yes, tennis, at the end of the day, we may see this is the white sport where people in Wimbledon bow to the queen and dress in white, and they don't say 0, they say 15 love or 30 love. Once they go to the court, there's no love at all. There's people, there's money, and these things will always happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Novak Djokovic, I mean, he essentially said, well, there is no issue here of corruption, but I was offered $200,000. How do you deal with that statement?
If you were offered, then that means these things exist. And if they were offered to the world number one player, I don't know if it was the number one player at the time, but he's a top player for 8-9 years. He was at the top level, someone who is watched. We do not know what happens in challengers, in future tournaments, those small tournaments where there are no cameras at every game, and many things happen. So yes, this is a problem. The issue now is the BBC and BuzzFeed, the Tennis Integrity Unit is telling them now, you have evidence, show it to us. Instead of now talking about all the players who may be involved, tell us who these 16 people are. I'm sure there's something in the story. There's something for sure.
Jonathan Regev, I'll be very interesting to hear what this something actually is.
So will I.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Bowie's greatest hits rang out in London on Sunday as fans gathered for a tribute concert 1 week from the pop icon's death. Starman, a celebration of David Bowie, was held at the Union Chapel in North London, which regularly hosts concerts and performances. Attended by 900 fans in the pews, the 4.5-hour event began with a karaoke version of Starman, sung wholeheartedly by Bowie devotees young and old alike.
David Bowie to me is, the Starman. He was my 70s, 80s, and my 90s, and so on. Just, when he passed, a book closed, and suddenly I could see, how influential he was and how inspiring he was. He loved rock and roll, he loved soul, he loved gospel, he loved the written word, and he loved performance.
He's had a lot of influence on my life in ways I don't actually expect. So the songs are extraordinary. They go all the way back to my school days, and they still live with me now, and they kind of bring a real sense of passion and imagination, and the way in which I kind of see the world through David's eyes has been amazing.
That's all we have time for this news bulletin. Join us again in 20 minutes for more. In the meantime, of course, for any updates online. Thank you for watching.